When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello and welcome to another Touchy Gooners podcast. My name's Lewis and today I'm joined by my usual cast of Daniel, Shabs and Seun. How you doing, lads?
That's good. How's it going?
And I've also got a very special guest with me today. We've got the Daily Mail's Premier League reporter, Sami Mokbel. How you doing, mate?
Hi guys, how you all doing?
Too hot.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it, mate. Tell me about it. But we'd only be moaning if it was -2, so we can't win, I suppose.
I know, we've got to kind of take the rough with the smooth, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I know. And I was bantering you about your hair before the podcast. I won't do it on the podcast.
No, feel free. Listen, it is what it is. It is what it is. You can't miss it. So, why long, July the 4th, roll on.
I hear that. Amen.
What's happening with what would they do? Because obviously barbers, you can't necessarily book in, can you? So you just have to queue outside. Mine don't. So you queue outside for the whole day. What?
I think some barbers do, but yeah, I think we're all going to be in the same boat. We're just going to be queuing outside. Like barbers are going to be like Tesco was like 2 months.
Yeah. Just a load of lads with long hair, just with masks on, just queuing outside.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get started, guys, just want to point you in the direction of our Discord server, approaching 500 members on there. So join there. We've got live match chats and loads of stuff on there. Also, this pod will be available on YouTube. So if you do want to see Sammy's hair, you are welcome to tune in on YouTube and subscribe to us on there. And yeah, just follow us on the Touchy Gooners on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Sammy, how is this week playing out in terms of like covering Arsenal in general? Because I know most weeks are quite entertaining and dramatic when you're covering Arsenal, but this week kind of seems, well, not even just since the season started, since the City game, this like last 9 days or so seems to have been a whole new level. So how's it been? Has it been really busy for you? It's
all right. Yeah. Listen, the whole project restart thing anyway, it was always going to be massively busy for a journalist and a Premier League reporter, but one that has a keen eye on Arsenal. You from the outset, you're looking to see how they spent their time, how fit they are. Obviously against City, didn't look particularly wasn't particularly pleasant watching for Arsenal supporters. They did have the injury, the Saka injury, I think, as much as, he gets a lot of stick from you guys, but...
definitely us guys, yeah.
But I look at the Arsenal midfield and I take him out of there, and I just don't think they're as cohesive without him in the side. Listen, opinions vary, and I know he's quite a divisive figure, isn't he, Saka, amongst the supporter base, but I think you take him out of the team. And I just think that certainly that midfield area certainly lacks a bit of cohesion. The Mari injury was obviously another blow. We don't know too much about him, but he must have impressed Arteta enough to get a start in that game against City. So that didn't help. But all that aside, I just think Manchester City on the night, and are probably 2 or 3 levels above where Arsenal are at the moment, and I guess that's the challenge for Mikel Arteta is to try and bridge that gap as much as he can. And then you go into the Brighton game, and you think, oh, this is where our project restart can launch. And yeah, take the lead with a brilliant goal from Nicolas Pepe, beautiful left-footed strike, but then somehow managed to throw it away and capitulate, and players across the pitch, Matteo Guendouzi being the obvious culprit, loses discipline, and now you're down to sort of 2 games, 0 wins going into a big game against Southampton.
Yeah, I saw that you obviously you did a bit on Guendouzi's antics, I should say. What do you think the feel is like with Guendouzi and the club? Because we've heard different kind of things that, like, Arteta he's fallen out with pretty much every manager that's been at the club so far, right? So But then Arteta said a few quotes earlier, that he likes that kind of fight and that kind of passion. What do you think is the feel of Guendouzi around the club?
There's a balancing act, isn't there? And I wrote a piece on Monday about Arsenal players talking the talk, but not necessarily being able to walk the walk. Whereas you play, certainly in the first half of Arsene Wenger's reign, you had players who could talk the talk, who could give it the lip on the pitch, but they could certainly walk the walk when it came down to it. And I think that is the big difference between the two different eras. I think Guendouzi is symptomatic of that. I think don't get me wrong, I think Guendouzi has got potential to be a very good player. He seems to have all the attributes in his locker, but he seems to have a temperament problem. And I think he let the circumstances around the game against Brighton on Saturday, with the goalkeeper and having his tete-a-tete with Mopé throughout the game. I just think he let that situation get the better of him. Now, if you're going to be a top level player, and don't forget he's young, so he'll learn. I think he's only 21. But if you're going to be a top level player, then you're going to have to leave all that sideshow behind. You have to focus on the game and whatever involvement you've got with other players on the field of play. You can't let it sidetrack you. You have to. And I think at the moment, that's where Guendouzi lets himself down, is that he does have a lack of discipline. I think on the field, certainly in a match scenario, but also in training. In training, when they went to Dubai for a pre-season training camp earlier this year for the winter break, there were widespread reports that he had a falling out of Arteta during one of the training sessions. Then where he had a stand-up row with the manager. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a young player trying to make your name, I don't think the best way about going about that is having a stand-up row with your manager.
No, I don't think it is. And I think after that, he dropped out of the team for a few games, didn't he? And then, and then maybe by hook or by crook, he's found himself back in the side again. It's just difficult to work out, because you see a variance of reports. It's difficult to ascertain where he actually stands with Arteta. Does Arteta rate him? Because we see today, I don't know how much credence these reports are, we see him linked to Real Madrid, Barcelona, Leicester. I mean, that could just be agent talk. Who knows? But there's clearly, as you said, some talent there. And, maybe Arteta feels like he can nurture that talent and get the most out of him. But it's definitely going to be a challenge for him from managing that kind of personality.
100%. And it wouldn't surprise me. And the coronavirus, the financial crisis that struck, the whole of football will certainly affect the transfer market, the forthcoming transfer market at the end of this season. But if Arsenal can get a like for Guendouzi, and they can get a good price for Guendouzi from a rival club, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Arteta was happy to do that deal, because I think Arteta, speaking from just some of the knowledge that I do have, I do think that Arteta does believe he's got a problem with his attitude, Guendouzi. And listen, it is essentially up to the manager to try and iron those flaws out of his game. But does he have the time to do that? Arsenal need Champions League football. We're probably not going to get it this season, but you need it double quick because the finances are suffering as a result of not playing in the competition. So it's a problem. It's a problem. Guendouzi is a problem for him because there's obviously talent there, and you don't want to let talent go. But equally, you need players who you can rely on. And the question that Arteta has to ask himself is, can he rely on Guendouzi?
Yeah,
I'm not sure at the moment if he can.
No, I agree.
To kind of tie in with the Guendouzi bit. So I don't know. It seems like for me, obviously from the outside looking in, seems to be a bit of a disciplinarian, and also there were some stories about Ainsley Maitland-Niles potentially being sold this summer, given maybe like a commitment or an attitude problem. This is all obviously from the outside looking in, just kind of to find out if you have some more details around maybe the Ainsley Maitland-Niles situation, and also potential replacements. I think Sean has highlighted that you were one of the first to kind of broke the Kokcu story and Arsenal's links towards him. So maybe this all ties into each
Yeah.
other.
The Orkan story is an interesting one. The interest is definite, and I know that there has been a level of discussions have already been had about that. This was COVID. This is before COVID, so that it will inevitably have an impact on how much money clubs have to spend, particularly Arsenal, who have got a big wage bill anyway, and have been keen to cut their wage bill over the past few seasons. I think the interest still stands in Kokcu. I certainly think it does. But whether a deal can be done now in this climate, I'm not entirely convinced. I think what they're relying on, I'm told, unless there's an unbelievable sort of deal that they can't say no to, I think they're relying on free transfers, swaps, and loans. Which doesn't sound great.
No, it sounds like Willian on a free transfer.
Yeah, well, I think Willian is. I think Willian is a good shout. I think if I was a betting man, I would put money on Willian ending up at Arsenal, because all the components are in place for that. He's already in London. His representative has his agent has very close links to the club now. So it seems like every sort of possible aspect that has fallen into place for Willian to go there is now in situ, and I think that deal can certainly happen. Now there has been also talk, hasn't there, of a swap deal between Lacazette and Thomas Partey.
That's the one we're praying for.
Atletico Madrid. And as outrageous as that sounds, I certainly see credence. Arsenal and Arteta definitely like Partey. That is nailed on. I think he's definitely a player that they like. But obviously the finances would preclude that from happening, because they simply don't have the kind of money that Atletico Madrid would want. So what that would mean is they would have to look through their squad to find a player that Atletico would take. Would they swap Partey for Lacazette? I don't know. Potentially that, but I think that one may have legs.
Okay. Sean, did you? Yeah, you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Sammy. Speaking of so obviously you mentioned Willian and his close ties to obviously he's represented by Kia Joorabchian, who has it's fair to say a bit of a stake in Arsenal. He's very heavily invested. He represents Edu. He represents David Luiz. So I just wanted to get your overall take on that situation. How much would you say do you think he has a lot of influence at Arsenal, or and do you think that might influence the way Arsenal approach the transfer window as well? So I just wanted to get your overall take on Kia and his overall influence at Arsenal at the moment.
Sure. Well, what I would say about the Kia situation first and foremost is clubs having a preferred agent to work with isn't something that is completely brand new and exclusive to Arsenal. All clubs have their preferred agents that they use for certain deals. What that means is that certain deals are easier to complete than others, because that said agent will have better ties with certain clubs, or better certain ties with other agents, which means certain players are more easily accessible for the club. So as we said, a player like Willian would certainly fit that bill. A player, could Arsenal go and try and loan someone like Philippe Coutinho, who is another Kia player? Could that be an option? I don't necessarily see a massive problem with Kia being so, inverted commas, influential at the club, because I see I think every Premier League club has got that, have got one or two preferred representatives that do a lot of their deals for them. It just so happens that Jarabshin has a lot of high profile players who Arsenal would take in a heartbeat. And I think from the outside looking in, people would be, certainly some supporters, and I'm aware of it on social media, that a lot of supporters are uncomfortable, aren't they, with the growing links between Jarabshin and Arsenal. But when you break it all down, I think what fans want the most is to have a successful team, is to have a successful Arsenal. And if in any way Kia, or any agent for that matter, can facilitate that, then I can only see that as a positive thing.
Do you believe in the theory that there's been a lot of this touted around that we have to take the crap to get some of the more golden assets? Do you think there's a bit of that going on? Like obviously, I'm not trying to slander his name, but David Luiz being one of them, and we've just signed him to a new obviously extension. Is there a bit of that going on, that maybe we have to take some of these duds to get in well with him, to get some of these more golden gems?
It's a good question. It's a difficult question to answer, if I'm being honest, because you'd look at David Luiz, and I totally see what you're saying with Luiz, and I thought his cameo against Man City the other day was just dreadful, and it was diabolical. It was not befitting of a player, of an Arsenal player. But equally, we shouldn't forget that David Luiz has won, I think it's 19 trophies during his career. So it's not like he's a nobody from Sunday League football. He's got Premier League pedigree. He's won the league with Chelsea. He won the Champions League with Chelsea. So he's an accomplished player. But do Arsenal have to take the kind of the rough with the smooth with Kia? I don't necessarily think that they do. Let's not forget, this is Arsenal Football Club. You're still one of the most prestigious clubs in the world, and I just don't think Arteta would accept having a mediocre player at the club. I think the one questionable deal that I would say that was announced today from that collection of signings was the decision to give Cedric Suarez a 4-year contract. That was strange to me, and it certainly raised a few eyebrows. Obviously, Suarez is a Kia player as well. Is a Kia Jarabshin player. Now, to give a player a 4-year contract, he's 28 as well. So don't forget. So by the time this contract finishes, he's going to be 32 years old.
Turns 29 this year.
Yeah, so he'll be 29 by the time the new season starts, right? Mm-hmm. So to give a player a 4-year contract without actually having seen him play a game for the football club, now that's where I would suggest there might be not a problem, but that certainly shines a spotlight on Kia's influence at the club, because I don't think any football person can justify giving Cedric Suarez a 4-year contract without actually having seen him play a game of football. I don't know, mate. You guys, you might go, you guys may see things differently. But listen, he's no mug. He has won. He's won the European Championship. He's played 100 times in the Premier League, more than 100 times in the Premier League. So he's no mug. He can play. Don't get me wrong.
4-year deal, no sell-on value at the end of it.
But a 4-year deal is, it seems a bit of a strange deal to me.
Yeah.
Not that it makes it better, but similar. When Luis was announced, when we signed them last year, it was announced as a 2-year deal and ended up a 1-year deal plus the option to extend it. So maybe I'm trying to give both sides of the argument. Maybe Cedric is a 3-year deal with the option to extend for the club. I still think that deal is still a bit generous.
Even if it's a 3-year deal with plus one, I would agree with you. I still think that would be generous. I think give him a 2-year deal plus an option. Do it that way. But a 4-year deal is I think it's pushing it a bit.
Talking about contracts, obviously Arsenal have got 2 quite big contract issues at the moment. One being our best player, and the second being probably our second best player at the moment. So have you? Yeah, I mean it's just typical Arsenal, isn't it? It's just that's where we're at. But where are Arsenal at in terms of Aubameyang's new contract, and do you have any news regarding that?
So we know negotiations are relatively far down the line with Aubameyang. They'd have to be because he's only got a year left. So those conversations have been had. The finances will obviously be an issue. Arsenal simply it will be hard for them to find the kind of money that would for Aubameyang to say, this is an offer that's too good to refuse. I've got to sign this. So in that case, what they have to do is try and convince Aubameyang of the project, of Arteta's project. And I certainly think I think Aubameyang is on board with Arteta and what he's trying to do. But he's 29, isn't he? 30.
Yeah.
He's not won an awful lot. I think he might have won 1 German Cup when he was at Borussia Dortmund, and I think that's it. So I think time's running out for Aubameyang to win the top honours. And I think I know the question that he's asking himself is, can I satisfy my career ambitions by winning trophies and major trophies? Can I satisfy that by staying at Arsenal? Only he can answer that. I would suggest probably not, because I think the rebuild at Arsenal will take more than 1 season, probably take more than 2 seasons. You probably need 3 or 4 windows to fix the wrongs in that squad at the moment. And Aubameyang simply doesn't have that time. So I understand why he's stalling. I really, really do. Do I expect him to stay? I don't know. I don't think he'll sign a contract. But then it's in Arsenal. But that leaves the ball in Arsenal's court. Do they cut losses and try and get as much as they can for him, or do they let him run out his contract and let him leave?
What do you think that is? When you say when you talk about getting the max that they can for him, how much do you think that is? Because pre-COVID, you might have said one thing. Now we're talking about another. It's
pre-COVID, even with a year on his contract, I would have said 50 million, 60 million, even with just a year on his contract. Now, post-COVID, I think you'd be lucky to get half. I think you'd be lucky to get to it like 30 million. Because of his age, because you're writing off the money. You're not going to get a sell-on with him because he's 29. If you give him a 3-4 year deal, that's 33 years old. You're not going to get a sell-on with that. And I think clubs will look at that and they're going to be more frugal with regards to regards to their spending in the summer. I think they would look at Aubameyang and think it's too high a risk.
Yeah. obviously, I mentioned another contract dispute, which is Bukayo Saka, which some might even say is more important than the Oba, considering he is the future of our club. Do you have any news regarding Saka, and like what's your general feel? Because I feel like that one is more like it's more clear cut in terms of I've got a good feeling about it. I've got a good feeling that he'll probably stay. We've just got to reassure him that he's going to play in the correct position and that he's going to be level on wages with what he should be. But yeah, I mean, I could be completely wrong.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that those negotiations are pretty far down the line. The thing is with that deal is that Saka knows he's going to play. He will have regular minutes under Arteta. Arteta obviously likes him and obviously rates him, so he will play him. He will nurture him in the best possible way. That isn't necessarily going to be the case if he moves to a Manchester United, if he moves to another top six side. So in my eyes, this is my personal opinion, I think he's best placed to stay and continue his development under Arteta. And speaking from a knowledgeable point of view, I also think Arteta went on record earlier last week to say that he expected it to be done. So when a manager comes out and says that, I think it's pretty far down the line, and I expect that to be confirmed in the not too distant future.
Cool. I'm just going to ask some questions from our Discord server, just from our listeners. I think I've only just got one really, because I think we covered most of the topics. But we often have a discussion in our group chat, and it's kind of like a back and forth. And this one's from Kyrie G. He asks, who has the final say on transfers? Is it how much? I guess the main point we want to know is how much of a say does Arteta actually have, and how much of it actually is Raul pulling the strings, and is Arteta just sort of like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. I think the clues in Arteta's job title, which is head coach. Obviously, Arsene Wenger was always the manager, and Arsene Wenger pulled the strings. He controlled the footballing operation from recruitment to team selection to contract renegotiations. He ran the show. Arteta is not the manager; he is the head coach. So obviously, he will have a say, and it will, they will all him, Raul and Edu will all sit round. All the various scouts, Francis Cacagio, will all have their input into certain deals and into certain potential transfers that the club deem possible. And but at the end, I think at the end of the day, when all is cut and dried, when it's the finances that dictate what deals can be done and what deals can't. And in that scenario, it is Raul and Edu who have a grip on the business side of the financial side. So I think their influence is identifying footballers isn't a job for Raul Sanllehi. Certainly not. That is a job for Edu. That is a job for the scouting network. That is a job for Arteta and his coaches. But when it comes to paying out and dishing out the money, that's where Raul Sanllehi's prominence and importance comes in.
Sammy, it's well known then, because Unai Emery had said himself that he was on record as saying that he wanted, instead of Torreira, he wanted Nzonzi, and instead of Pepe, he wanted Wilfred Zaha. So do you think there might be any chances of maybe Arteta further down the line having a collision course with Raul and Edu? Because what happens if, like he says, he recommends a player and then he doesn't get what he wants? How can that be perceived?
It's a good question. collision. Listen, it depends on how far Mikel Arteta would be willing to push that boat and willing to push that scenario. If he was desperate for a player, then I'm sure he would. He would fight for that player. He would go and speak to those guys individually and say, look, I understand what you're saying. I understand that you may want to go for a cheaper alternative, but I want this guy. But the problem that obviously Arteta is going to have, that he's been there for 6 months. He hasn't really achieved anything yet, and as much as the club say that we back the manager's vision, we're on board with what he's trying to achieve. Ultimately, in football, and this is across the board at every club in every country in every league, you're only as good as your finances, and your recruitment is only as good as the amount of money you've got. And listen, you get the occasional. You find N'Golo Kante for £5 million or whatever it was. That that is a once in the blue moon scenario. More often than not, you pay for what you get. And Emery may have wanted, a Wilfried Zaha, but they couldn't. The finances precluded that. Crystal Palace wanted pretty much 75% of that fee up front, whereas we know with Nicolas Pepe, I think it was reported at the time that I think Arsenal are paying the £72 million over a period of 5 or 6 years. So invariably, Arteta, can
on Klarna apparently.
On Klarna, yeah, exactly, yeah. But Arteta could request X player till the cows come home. But if the finances aren't there, then the finances aren't there. It's simple as that.
I've got one question that links to this as well. Ties kind of in with the Nzonzi Torreira deal. Is there do you know if there's a strategy at Arsenal to sign players of a certain age? Because I think I saw stories around Nzonzi's age and why we didn't want to sign him, and also Zaha being older than Pepe was a reason of why we didn't want to sign him.
Yeah, I think maybe at that time there certainly was under Arsene Wenger. I think Arsene Wenger he would only go in for players who were under a certain age and where there would be a sell-on value. But I think today we've seen a little bit of a shift in that. I think today is a pivotal day. We've seen Arsenal give a 33-year-old error-prone central defender a new deal. We've seen Arsenal give a 28-year-old right back who hasn't played a single game for the club a 4-year contract. We've seen them give a 26-year-old central defender that no one really knows much about in Pablo Mari, giving him a 4-year contract today. So to me, that suggests to me that the age thing is no longer an issue for Arsenal. I think they just want a certain caliber of player at the football club, and I don't think the age now is necessarily a deciding factor. Whereas under Arsene Wenger, it certainly was.
Cool. Sami, obviously, I'm really conscious about taking up your time. I've just got one more question to ask you from our Twitter.
Sure.
OT Button tweets us, do the signings renewals rule out a summer move for a centre-back?
No, not necessarily. I still think he's in. I think Arteta's in, and Arsenal are in the market for a centre half. I think the one that the club would desperately like to do is the lad from whose name escapes me now, from RB Leipzig, Upamecano. I think everyone from manager to the recruitment staff to the board are on board with trying to get Upamecano over the line. That will be.
Sorry, Sami. You say that because Arsenal at the moment have about 7-8 centre backs. So do you still think we will pursue that? I mean,
what I was going to say is that I think the finances would preclude that, and again that is a problem. So he would be an expensive signing, a really expensive, because he's going to be he looks like he's going to be a top player, right? From what I've seen from him, he's got all the attributes to be a success in the Premier League. And also, don't forget Saliba's coming in, but Saliba's a little bit of an unknown quantity. We don't actually know how he's going to adapt. I know I see a lot of Arsenal players and a lot of Arsenal fans on Twitter sort of pinning their hopes on William Saliba, but really we're not sure, are we? Just quite how good he's going to be when he comes and adapts to the Premier League. But I still think they're certainly in the market for a centre. They're certainly in the market for a dominant central midfielder. I think Partey would be their first choice there. But again, the money would be a problem. And then I think you've got the issue of trying to replenish the attacking areas. Could they offload Mesut Ozil somewhere to try and get his wages off the wage bill? That will be a tough ask. If they can maybe get Ozil out the door. I can certainly see the Orkan Kokcu deal happening, because he would look like to be, a cheaper, certainly cheaper, kind of like for like replacement for him.
I heard there's like a GoFundMe for Ozil to leave the club. I'll certainly be donating my money there.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough ask. Listen, I think it's not been a secret, has it, that the club have tried to offload him probably for the last 2 summers, but surprisingly enough, when you're earning 350 grand a week, you don't really want to leave. So each to their own.
Yeah, who can blame him? Who can blame him?
Exactly.
Sami, man, I really want to thank you for your time this evening. You've been fantastic.
That's cool, girls. No problem.
Everyone can follow Sami Mokbel 81_DM on Twitter. But yeah, Sami, thanks again.
No problem, lads. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Sami.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Once again, thanks to Sami for joining us on Touchy Gooners. Guys, that was quite insightful, I thought you dropped a few pieces of information there. Seun, I know you've got some thoughts on the information that you put to us.
No, it was great, and thanks to him for coming on. My only thing is that it's interesting is that they're saying a lot of like low budget deals or free transfers. And obviously COVID is definitely a factor, but they said similar last summer. I do think it feels like as if Arsenal love to play broke at times, and I'm sure obviously finances are limited to an extent, but the where we are, I think I saw we're 11th in the table at the moment, aren't we? So they have to spend.
Luckily, Villa equalised, so we went 13th.
Yeah. So it's like we're 11th, 12th in the table. They have to spend, and I think they will, just because of where we are. If we don't want the gap to grow any further, we're going to have to spend it out. And I think we will. We will see. And I don't want to tempt fate. Like, I'm touching wood now, because this could easily blow up in my face. But I do feel like the Partey deal will happen. Why he wants to come, I don't know. But I don't know why he would want to come right now. But I feel like it will happen. Because we all spoke yesterday in the group chat about how many signings we reckon we'll make. So we've already got 2 signed now. I think we might make another 2-3 signings for me in the summer as well.
I'm going for 4. I'm going for 4 more.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I would like to see 2 centre midfielders and a forward of some kind, whether that's a wide forward or forward to replace someone outgoing. But yeah, one of those types as well.
Dan, Shabs, what did you think of him basically giving us a like the kiss of death in regards to Aubameyang? He says, like he doesn't think he's going to sign and is probably going to be off. Does that come as a surprise to you, or was that the feeling that you had anyway?
No, I'm not surprised by it at all, to be fair. And we need to make a decision about what we do with Oba, and we need to. I think we just need to handle the decision with dignity, really, and still, even if we come out losing what is a very good striker, I think there's a way in which you can do that without looking like you're weak. I think like Arsenal are still a huge club with a huge reputation, and You know, cut your losses on this deal. Let Oba go. Get in a good
Jonathan David, David.
Get in Jonathan David. Get in the sturdy replacement. You know, and say that's it. And I think as well that sets the tone for. This is a new regime. This is a new movement. This is a new, you know, this is the beginning of a new project. You know, we've had different projects with the Arsenal Football Club, haven't we? And we had the Henry project and, you know, we kind of moved. And then we had the kind of Cesc Fabregas project and Nasri's and, you know, and then you had like a completely different way where we just had to shop at Lidl and Aldi and them joints there for bringing in Park Jew and all these other guys. And, you know, these really mediocre years. And I think let's just take a stance, say that this is the beginning of the end of allowing players to run down their deals and whatnot. And this is the start of a new era. And a lot of the guys, a lot of the man them in the group, Seun, we're talking about destroy and rebuild, just start again. And I think this is a good way for us to be able to do that.
Hmm. Dan, you obviously said that we've been trying to get rid of Ozil for the last 2 seasons. How did that make you feel?
Mate, I'm a bit it was stupid from the club to give him that contract anyway, so they shot themselves in the foot. I hope they don't do it with Aubameyang. So sell him, get the money for him now, and buy someone else to kind of step into his spot in the squad. I think the only way for Arsenal to move forward is 1, learn from mistakes, 2, be ruthless and efficient, and 3, have a clear plan. So obviously the contract extensions of Cedric, Mari, and David Luiz look very higgy. Let's not lie. We know that. We all agree on that. But we can look and see what business they're doing in the summer and see if there's a larger strategy behind this potentially. If there isn't, then we'll be on their neck like we have been really. But we kind of need to see what business they do first, because as Sean has said, we don't really know. And Arsenal like to pretend to be super broke. And we talked in the group about it. Why did Cedric and Mari been announced now when there have been voices that they're probably already signed in January? Maybe this is all part of a plan to kind of look broke and stall on deals. To facilitate us making some deals in the summer that people don't think we can do. So let's see. But one thing that I found quite interesting was the links with Kia that he mentioned. And he said that he doesn't think it's a bad thing. And to some extent, I agree. It depends what clients you get and what contracts they're signed. So the Cedric thing is very, very questionable. Like, very questionable. 4 years.
4 years. That's some charity fucking shit, man.
There's one thing on that though, as Dan's touching on it. I am seeing these signings, Mari, Cedric, as in-season signings, yeah. And I do think there is something about them having us having to have been reactionary to what happened in terms of our squad, and we had to bring them in because we had to. We needed backup. We needed cover. So I am kind of attaching a different weight to us signing them as in-season signings to kind of what I expect our summer business to be, first and foremost. And I think secondly as well, like I think as much as I don't rate Unai Emery, and we all know this, had Emery remained at the club, we're not making those types of signings in January in terms of Mari and in terms of Cedric. We're not signing those 2 players. I think that what's suspect about it is the decision to give them permanent deals now. That is really unique and crazy from our perspective. But I do think it's reactionary. And so Arteta is new. He's a new coach. We kind of have to give him time. I see this as like, this is an opportunity for us to do what Liverpool done. And I'm not saying emulate exactly their model, but in terms of our approach to transfers, you think about Klopp coming in, he had his first half season. They failed in the Europa League final. And had they qualified for Europe, in fact, the whole transfer process and structure and strategy would have gone a completely different way. They failed to qualify for Europe. What they done, they effectively got rid of players who were not going to be functional. They started to bring in players. They still had higgy deals, you know, they signed Matip, but they signed Klavan. They still had bad players in there, you know, but they came in to kind of plug gaps. And I'm looking at these guys as they're in at the moment. but they are kind of here to plug gaps. And so I'm not. I think Arsenal fans do need to. They're not the deals that we want to see, but we do have to relax a little bit around.
And sorry, go on, Dan.
I think the only point that because we lack so much quality in the first 11, every signing that doesn't improve the first 11, we're looking at like, what the fuck are we doing?
It's a big problem.
So of course, we all sensitive, and that's why my point kind of ties in. Just see what they're doing this summer. We can criticize it. We were in a similar position last year. Okay, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but last year after the transfer window, we thought they did good dealings. So let's see again and then assess. But this time let's be even more objective. Maybe last year we got too gassed. Let's be super critical and see what they do. But
yeah. All right, cool. Let's address the elephant in the room then, because obviously we need to talk about the Brighton game. I was on Touchline on the main pod on Sunday, so I gave some of my observations, but I'll just quickly recap on some of the things that I thought. I felt the game was very similar to other games that we've had under Arteta so far, and I understood the frustration of losing, because I was doing the Discord live chat at the time, and I was just like, this is me and Shabs were doing the Discord, and we were just like, oh, fucking hell, man, this is just ridiculous. How have we lost this game?
I thought we're front line. No. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna get onto all of you and all of you, man, in the chat. Joe Black came in, but for both of our games, me and Lou have been there front line, holding it down for the Touchy Gooners. Yeah, so I'm just let it be known. That's better from my comrades. Yeah,
I agree. Right. But yeah, I mean, me and Shabs fronted up to it, and I left that game feeling. I haven't watched it back, but I left that game feeling that it was very similar to some Arteta games that we've had so far. I'm thinking mainly of the Sheffield United one, where pretty much dominated the whole game. Didn't quite do enough to score a second goal, and then conceded out of nowhere. Any time that a team seems to put pressure on us, we look like cracking. And similar as well to the Crystal Palace game, where I think we drew 1-1 at home, I think it was. Very similar, in control of the game. And I likened it a little bit to the Chelsea game. Obviously, nowhere near as much control as what Chelsea had over Villa. But the fact that Villa weren't threatening, but because Chelsea lacked the quality in the forward areas, and they've got so much defensive vulnerabilities, anytime Villa attacked, they don't even have to attack that many times. You get enough shots off at Kepa, and you're going to inevitably concede goals. So I felt a little bit. I wasn't surprised by the outrage of the result, because the result is bad. But I was just more surprised by the fact that people were sort of like saying that it was a terrible performance, and maybe the bar is low. I think maybe the bar is low, but I actually felt like we created quite a bit. Now, the stats, the XG doesn't really go into supporting my argument on that, but I feel like the chances that we created or almost created were more like getting in the right areas and poor execution and poor quality in the final third, which has been another theme of performances under Arteta. And it's testament to the lack of quality we do have in the squad, because you replace some of those players with extra quality in the final third and in our defense as well, and we probably win that game quite comfortably. But yeah, those were my thoughts. Seun, I'll let you start off.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you, Lou. I was very fascinated, because this was, I don't know how many games, but this was the first sort of game, in my opinion, where we kind of played like a true 4-3-3. And you could kind of see it in terms of the personnel and the layout. Saka centre mid was obviously a left field decision. Arteta had used it in the friendly against Brentford. We hadn't really seen that game, but by all accounts, he's quite keen on him there. And you can sort of see why he does a sort of similar role to how Angel Di Maria plays when he plays centre mid as well. So we've got someone who can, and he's got those qualities we need. He can drive with the ball through the middle. We don't have anyone else in the team who can do that. And one of the great things, as we've seen about Saka this season, because he's got 11 assists, is his decision-making in the final third is very, very good. So he would work himself into good positions. He would put good balls in, but we either weren't attacking it well, or we just weren't getting the final action. But overall, I was quite encouraged by the initial stuff I was seeing. I thought even though obviously it was annoying to lose, I thought we were actually quite unlucky to lose the game, because Brighton really didn't do much, but we were just unfortunately, as you said, it's just evidence of a lack of quality all round. So, but when people after the game were kind of like, I don't see what Arteta's trying to do, I'm like, I can visibly see what Arteta's trying to do. The centre backs are bringing the ball out. They're trying to commit someone before playing a pass into midfield. You can see that when Saka dribbles with the ball, Aubameyang moves infield as well to try and add another body in the box. So there's definite signs of what you can see. There's a few things I don't agree about, and his subs are included in that. But overall, in terms of the progress, I can definitely see where he's heading and where he's trying to go. But unfortunately, and this is where it comes down, it's not really a system problem anymore. It's just a major personnel issue. So I don't really think we're going to see much improvement until we start improving on the personnel. And for me, I'm a big advocate of what we need to do in midfield. So for me, Partey would obviously be a priority. And then obviously another creative option who can dribble and who can carry the ball through the lines as well. So, but I think what fans probably need to understand is that it is a process. You know, when fans say, "Oh, I'm behind the long-term process," like you actually have to be behind the long-term process. We're going to have a lot of games like that where we dominate and we're going to lose because the quality is just not there at all. Do you know what I mean? So, but as long as I see that sort of progress in terms of the structure and the style, I'll be happy. And I'm just hoping, obviously, we'll make the necessary arrangements to try and improve the personnel in the summer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dan, what did you think of the lineup and Saka's inclusion in that left centre midfield space in particular?
I was very encouraged by Saka's performance. So obviously we've been on a podcast all together talking about where Saka should be playing. Should we give him a chance left wing? Should we try should he buy into left back? I've fully gone and just made my mind up about it. Saka should play centre midfield or left wing. This guy is super talented. I think we all underestimate how talented he is, and his talent has been consistent throughout the whole season. I think he's one of the most consistent players we have at the moment, simply because he has technical security, technical proficiency, and he has the ability to carry out the final ball and final touches in the final third. He is absolutely a vital player for us to tie down, of course. I hope that happens. I was encouraged for him to be playing in that position. I think the way he interpreted the position was pretty good. And as Sean said as well, he was playing a bit like Di Maria, but he was going wide, then letting over tuck in, and then finding the overlap. Kind of the way he interpreted the left back position, he was able to do from left centre midfield. And he was also able to turn on the ball. So he gave us a few aspects that we didn't have in midfield, and then still managed to give us what he would give at left back. So I think I was super encouraged by that performance, and I really think it kind of made me think of when you see players in the youth and they're very highly rated, and kind of comparing it to Nelson. Like, I still think Nelson is a good talent, and we see what kind of career we'll have at Arsenal. But the players like Saka and Iwobi, they make it at the top level because they have technical proficiency and they're very technical and consistent with their technical touches. So Saka, Iwobi, they take touches into space, they turn, they push the touch out, and it always comes off really. Like, it's very rare that you see a misplaced touch or they overcomplicate things. They just make good decisions, and those are the players that make it at the top level. And I think it's a testament to maybe some of the work they're doing at the academy, that once Iwobi's left, Saka's come in now. So I'm encouraged to see maybe some of the youngsters coming through. I know, of course, we've lost some good ones, like the Ahmed Musa, I believe, isn't it? Not Ahmed Musa. What's his first name? But Musa.
I can't remember his name.
It's like Yunus Musa. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
The one that went to Valencia.
He looks super talented, and again, the player that kind of fits this criteria. But I'm encouraged to see who comes through. I think we've talked about Azez before, but I was super impressed with Saka. That was the main takeaway for the game for me. As I said before, the season's a bit of a write-off for me. I don't believe in our ability to get Champions League at all. Even think that Europa League is a bit of a stretch at the moment for us. So potentially it's good to not be in both competition. Of course, we'll take a loss, say financially, but maybe it allows us to play a game after game after game, and ultimately get better league performances. But the performance did encourage me, and I could see where Arteta tried. The subs, same as Ron, don't think the subs were good at all. But Yeah, I hope this is just this. We're still very early in the process with Arteta, and people need to realize that. I think he was in the job 3 months when the COVID stuff happened, and now we're back under crazy circumstances as well with lack of quality in the squad. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what happens after the summer. And let's give him the time that people were willing to give Emery. Whereas we knew what Emery was about. We knew Emery was trash, and people gave him a whole year. They gave him a whole year, and you're trying to talk about Arteta now. Like, just allow it. Give him the time. See what we do.
I agree. But now we've done the Arteta loving, we've got to get down to some of the decisions that I think were quite crucial in us losing the game. And Shabs, first of all, what did you feel? Because we were obviously in the Discord and we were talking, and I remember saying, I think we're going to concede soon. And it literally came from the first bout of Brighton pressure.
Yeah.
The first time they put us under pressure, and we just looked like conceding, and I'd seen it all before. Do you think that was Arteta's first mistake, not changing anything there and then?
Yeah, there's a few things, Lou. Sorry, I did have a few points just to add to what he was saying, and they were on the Arteta loving side. If I could quickly throw them in quickly just before adding.
Very briefly, Shabs, we've got to keep the Arteta loving down.
No,
for a minute,
I know. I do think we have to be objective and balanced in our assessment of both of Saturday's game and of Arteta's performance so far as manager. I think in Saturday's game, 4-3-3 was we looked very balanced as a side for a lot of the spells of the game. I think the chances created were sufficient. Saka had a chance early on where he came inside on his right foot. He hit the crossbar. He was quite unlucky there. There was a very good ball that was put in. Again, Saka, he started centrally, but he overlapped wide. And I was saying this in the Discord as well. He was going to overlap and go on the outside, allowing Oba to get into the box. Oba was difficult to pick up, and it allowed Lacazette as well, caused panic and confusion amongst the Brighton defence here, because you've got Oba emerging and then Laka kind of doing whatever he does.
Whatever he does, yeah.
No, I'm being harsh, but he got down that side. He put in a good cross, albeit it came off a defender's the heel of a defender, and Oba had a header straight at goal, which, you know, better finish, better touch on it either side. Maybe we would have got a goal there earlier. I think did Eddie miss a few chances as well, but he got himself into encouraging positions as well. So I do think we're balanced in and created some chances. We could do better, but these are issues and criticisms that we've had about Arsenal for a little while. I do think we're missing Xhaka. You kind of know what I think, but we struggled without Xhaka, and that's a bit of a it's alarming for me. And then I did have issues with the way that the game went in terms of the number of fouls. Our players just picking up bookings quite early on or after like one or two opportunities. But you had Bissouma, who we were laughing about the fact that, like, I was laughing and teasing about the fact that Bissouma was having an absolute jolly up come the end of the game. But he committed something like 7 fouls,
7 or 8 fouls,
and did not pick up a single booking, you know. And I think about
and some of them were bad. Some of them were bad.
Some of them were really bad fouls. And I can't remember who it was on our end who got booked quite early in the game as well. And I thought, that's it. So he should have been. So, you know, and then there are these other things about the soft centre. So I do think we've got to be balanced in our objective, in our you know, in our analysis of Arteta. We hadn't lost in 2020 in the league as well prior to the restart. We were always going to lose against City away, whatever set of circumstances. I think the best we could have hoped for would have been a draw. So the Brighton result is a bit of a shocker. And yeah, our position is horrible in the league, but it's not Arteta's fault. You know, this is where he's picked up the pieces. But that's the end of my Arteta love, because I do think you said it when we were in the chat against City. I think, Lou, you said Arsenal were going to lose 2-1. Lewis Dunk's going to score a header in the last minute. So you did kind of call it. It didn't quite happen that way. You know, he didn't get the winner, but he was involved earlier on. And you also called it during the match as well. And I think the mistakes that Arteta made was that he did not change the game whilst we were still in control. You know, we were 1-0 up. And I thought that was the opportunity. We were crying out for the game to change because Brighton looks like they were going under. And I think we could have made, not that we've got like much to go off from the bench, but I think we could have made a few changes in that moment, which would have allowed the momentum to remain with us. And then it's a different entity. It's a different way. I think as well, Ceballos tired. I don't think he had a particularly good game, but I think he tired as well. I think he tired. And then what he does give us is someone who's supposed to be able to hold on to the ball. And I think he failed to do that. Gave away possession cheaply in silly areas of the pitch, just ridiculous areas of the pitch as the game went on. They gained a foothold. We got deeper and deeper. And the inevitable. And I think it's the type of thing that us as Arsenal fans, we've seen this happen so many times here that we're not surprised. We're almost calling it in jest. Like, I think you were saying it, Lou, but you weren't really believing it. But
I believe they would equalise. I believe they would equalise.
But
I didn't think they would win. No.
Yeah. So we can kind of all call these things because we see ourselves and we're just not good when it comes to. It's very difficult anyway. As you tire, anyone who's played football, you get tired. You sustain pressure. Your team doesn't. You don't have a man on the ball who can in your team who can get his foot on the ball. Just take the sting out of things. And that's what it is game management. And you need game management from your coach, but you need players on the pitch who are capable of game management as well and seeing out situations. And that's what it is, man. We just didn't have it. We didn't have enough of that. And I think that there were things that Arteta could have done to change it a bit sooner.
The other thing that confused the hell out of me was the 3 subs coming on with 3 minutes to go. I didn't understand it. I think that's adaptation. But it's... I just feel like you see when you're in a football game, yeah, and like for example, say Man City are drawing 0-0, or Liverpool are the best example of this. They're drawing 0-0. The last 10 minutes of the game, they're pushing for that goal. It's coming. But there's something about the consistency of their play. The momentum sticks. Bringing on 3 players in the last 3 minutes of the game doesn't allow any momentum to be struck. It doesn't allow any consistency to be struck. How are you going to structure attacks when you've got 3 new players on the pitch and they've got 3 minutes to make a difference? It made no sense to me. I don't understand the logic behind it.
And it's a steep learning curve. And I think these are the things that Arteta needs to... I think this is where we can judge Arteta and this is where we can be critical on Arteta. And I think these are the things that I want to see him learn from. I don't want to see him making the same mistakes against Southampton in terms of who he starts with, but how he uses his subs. We're not that great. We don't have a lot to go off, but I think there are things that are within his control, which he can do a better job of. It looks like.
And I definitely agree. And I think doing the 3 subs towards the end of the game, I don't know what the score was at the time when he did the subs, but it kind of made it feel to me like was it 1-1?
1-1, yeah, 1-1.
Okay. It kind of made it feel like he was taking the sting out of the game and it became a training session. And Brighton were there for the points because they need to stay up. But we were kind of we took the sting out of the game and made it a training session and they punished us. I think this is definitely something that we can look at and say, listen, this has just got to be better. I think Ceballos playing 90 minutes. I don't understand it. I don't think it was good for 60 minutes, let alone 90 minutes.
No.
So giving them all that time to play. And I mean, I don't think Guendouzi was great. I know his emotions got the better of him, but he was the one that's pushed the ball forward. I mean, I can remember a few passes from Guendouzi into good space for Saka and into good space for Partey to kind of at least initiate attacks. I can't remember much of Ceballos from that game. So
He was poor.
So he should have come off. So that's like an obvious sub. And we made 5 subs, right? And he didn't come off. It's just a bit weird.
Yeah. I think let's touch on Guendouzi because obviously we spoke a little bit about it with Sami. What did you guys think of the antics after was it after the whistle had gone or was it as Brighton had scored? It was after the whistle, was it? What did you think of that? Because me personally, I find it a bit distasteful. I find it especially the comments that are reported, apparently something like I earn more money than whatever. I don't think you're good enough for that kind of talk. I really don't think you're not Ibrahimovic. And even then, I think Ibrahimovic's a bit of a cunt for doing that kind of stuff. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, we need that kind of cunt in the team, but not that. Not if you're not good enough to do that stuff, then just keep your mouth shut and play football, because your performances aren't up to scratch to come at that level of vim, in my opinion.
To be honest, not that I'm defending it, but I'm sure there are loads of obscenities that are probably thrashed about in games that are probably never reported about. So it probably happens loads. There's probably loads of things that I said that we never hear about. My bigger gripe is that I don't know why it took that long. Like I said, when it happened, when the thing to Leno happened, we should have been surrounding the ref, putting pressure on him. Should have been like pushing him to like more pay. And I hate to sound like you're like in this situation, but
no, but it happens all the time, man. It happens all the time. We let our players get away with it.
It is a lack of passion, a lack of character. Like it's just.
A man is on the stretcher telling more pay to fuck off because he's injured him. Why is Leno the one doing that?
Why is and Leno, is about it, but there's no one else is backing him. I was even surprised. Like that's the sort of thing normally Kolasinac probably would have been over there. Actually,
yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't over there.
Sorry to interrupt. If Xhaka would have been there, it would have been different.
Yeah. For all Xhaka's fault, I can't lie.
Red cards pending.
That sort of thing you can never fault Xhaka for.
But then we'll be cussing him. You dickhead! Why are you getting involved?
Xhaka will back the beef. Like Oba won't. He's not really that sort of guy. Pepe won't. He's quiet. Lacazette won't.
All these introverts, man.
None of those guys will do it. Xhaka will. I was surprised Kolasinac didn't, but it's more symptomatic of as a team. We need to. They talk about close unity and blah blah blah. All right, so why weren't you backing him? Like, do you know what I mean? Think back to like 10. Even like Fabregas would have like been over there, Wilshere back then.
Yeah,
man, they would have been causing trouble.
Yeah. Lauren would have been getting a quick uppercut in the ribs.
Listen, those Invincibles man would have batted him up. That's normal. But yeah, even like the guys after him, there was just more character about them. These guys, they're just a bit meek, man. So and it's a shame. Like I said, I'm coming across like you're dar here, but like it's a case of you want to sign the right players, but you also want to sign the right characters as well, man. To show.
Mate, that's such a big part of football, though. That's a big part of talent identification. There's bare ballers out there. There's ballers that aren't even pros.
It's true.
The thing that separates them is mentality.
It's your mentality.
It's true.
So if there's a mentality difference at the bottom, there's going to be a mentality difference at the top. It might be 1%. It might be 2%. It might be very, very minuscule. But that is the difference that separates your top players. So like your Adel Taraps to your elite players like Eden Hazard, like maybe same level of talents kind of thing. Well, maybe that's a bit of a reach. But
even players like Milner, like we can all see Tarap is more talented than Milner.
Exactly. That's a good example. Yeah, that's a good example.
On the Guendouzi thing, I think that's why in the group I said I think it's a bit overblown because he's a young guy. Obviously, he's chatting shit. We don't even know the accuracy of the quotes. And I'm also sure that footballers chat shit to each other all the time on the pitch.
Oh, right then. I agree. And my thing is like, Morpay's had the last laugh now because he's come out having injured our keeper, having scored the winning goal. So he can come out and say something cocky like that. And you know what? People are going to run with it. The internet gods have gone crazy. The meme makers are having a field day. And, it's making us look silly. But his thing sounded like a personal spat with Guendouzi. So even for him to come out and say the Arsenal players, they did. And I'm like, no, I didn't see it like that. I don't know who else was talking shit to him. And he was also there talking shit back. Like you can see it. So I don't rate that from I don't rate that from him.
Do you think Morpay should have been sent off, Shabs?
I don't think what he done no, I don't think what he done to Leno was a red card offence. I just think it's that's about sporting conduct. That's about sporting conduct. You've endangered another professional, and that leaves a bad taste. And I think that's why things blew over in the way that they did, especially with the way that the game went, because that's about your next professional. Sorry, man.
Sorry to interrupt you, Shab. So can I ask a question then? Because obviously you said you don't think you should have been sent off. Someone made a good point that in rugby, which is obviously a very physical sport, you can't hit anybody. It's against the rules. You can be sent off for hitting someone whilst they're up in the air. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Leno already had the ball before. Like, obviously he had made contact. Like, so any sort of touch could obviously land in normal and it would have been fine. But when someone's up in the air, like it is, and this is the problem I sort of have with like sort of, you know, those cowardly challenges. I remember when we played Norwich and someone pushed Alexis, or was that against Everton, pushed him into advertising hoarding.
Same
thing happened with Debussy as well. So for me, those are very cowardly challenges. Do you know what I mean? So and people and this is obviously sort of my problem with parts of English football as well. Like we glorify those sorts of things in the name of bravery and getting stuck in. But I just very much think that's cowardly. Do you know what I mean? And people, it's not like a malicious challenge, but I think it's very snidey and very cowardly. And I don't think people should be allowed to get away with that sort of
You're
stuff.
endangering.
I guess the argument against it is that goalkeepers get enough protection anyway, and if anything, goalkeepers get away with a lot, you know, in terms of like high feet, you know, knees in the back of people and stuff that if it was an outfield player doing, it'd be a foul. So I guess that is the rebuttal to it. But I agree. I think it's stuff like that. If you're pushing someone while they're midair, especially if they're twisting as well, I don't mean to sound as like coming off as a bit of a pussy, but it is dangerous. And,
no, it's dangerous.
Luckily it's only 6 weeks, right? Luckily it's only 6 weeks. Could have been ACL. It looks fucking horrible.
He's endangered another professional, and that's what it is. It was a foul. Yeah, yellow card. He shouldn't have challenged the keeper there. He didn't need to challenge the keeper. The keepers are supposed to be protected around that. But I don't look at it as it happened and say he should have been sent off for that. And I don't think we'll see very many red cards anywhere in world football for
no.
I do think he should have been cautioned. He should have been cautioned.
I think it was a foul.
He didn't get a yellow. He didn't get booked for it.
No,
did he? And that was my issue. You know, I was saying about Bissouma. I was saying like the referee and I can't remember who posted it, but it sounds like us Arsenal fans, like, you know, we've got the world's against us and the siege mentality type of thing. But no, there are. If you really break down the refereeing decisions and if you watch games and you see the way that our players get booked and the types of offences that our players get booked for versus the types of offences, or it's not just bookings, it's decisions, the way that decisions go in games. And it sounds like, and Arsenal need to be good enough to not allow it to kind of like the referee's decisions to affect us.
Yeah. I also think we have to fight back to an extent as well. Yeah, though. We have to start turning refereeing decisions in our favour. Do you know what I mean? So.
Because I was going to say, but Brighton aren't good enough. Do you see what I'm saying? But decisions went in their favour. Do you see what I'm saying? So maybe there is something about fighting back. You do have to create your own luck. You do have to create your own luck.
Yeah, we do. But we've been getting very unlucky. It's like every single game we're getting someone injured within the first 20 minutes, and and we can talk all we want about Arteta's preparation, but if someone's getting injured the first 20 minutes of a game and Man City wants 7 minutes or whatever, the game plan is out the window. It's ridiculous. Like if we can't keep players on the pitch, it's either a red card injury or both. Every single game I think Arteta's had, there's been something. And that is something. And I don't want to be what do you call it when you're where you're like self-fulfilling prophecies kind of thing, where you're you're kind of believing it for it to happen, but it feels like it every game. Like it feels like some fucking shit is gonna happen. But you know what? We got to get over it. We got Southampton tomorrow, so I guess we might see maybe like a mix up of the teams that have played against City and Brighton. Maybe I don't know. I guess the team is up in the air of who we're going to play. I think the only person we can say for certain Martinez will play. What's our centre back situation saying? Is
the back four will remain, I reckon.
Yeah, Louise is still suspended for the match.
What, Tierney's not going to play now?
Yeah, I think Tierney will come in for Collar.
Tierney will come back in again. Socrates is fit apparently, but do you bring it? I don't know.
That he's ready to play.
But Bellerin's played 290 minutes though, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe time for Ainsley Maitland-Niles to get... I know he don't want to play there.
Ainsley might need to come on because the way that Redmond was on a jolly up the other day, and Hector, listen, Hector.
Also,
I've reserved my...
physically good. Disu mentioned it on the pod on Sunday. Yeah. They look very, very good.
Southampton are basically... Southampton are basically a German team. Like, do you know what I mean? Them man press relentlessly, bro. Yeah. And that's the sort of team. Also, I don't even remember the last time Arsenal went away to Southampton. I'm talking years. Like Southampton are pretty much Arsenal's biggest bogey team. We don't win away to Southampton. Even when we don't win away to Southampton. So I don't want to be that guy. And obviously, I'm just going to say we're going to lose again. I'm sorry, like I don't want to be that guy in it,
I
but
agree.
I don't think we're going to win. We don't have the profile.
The last time, I'll tell you the last time. You'll remember it. Was the 5-0 one where
that was FA Cup though.
FA Cup. Oh, you mean in the league?
I'm talking. When was the last time we won there in the league? When was the last time we won away at Southampton in the league?
Oh, the same season we beat them 2-0. Olivier Giroud and Sanchez scored.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that feels like one win in like how many? Because I'm pretty sure. I'm
looking at the record now. It is. It's like it's out
like
of the 10
win
games, it's 2 wins at Southampton.
Crazy.
We pretty much always lose every time we go to Southampton, and with all due respect, like I expect us to lose again. Like I just do. I don't think we have the athleticism to compete with them, and that's really sad me saying that because this is Southampton. Do you know what I mean? So, but we don't have the athleticism, we don't have the energy levels, and I think like they'll G-Gen press us in like transition. We'll struggle.
G-Gen or Gengen?
Bruv.
It's Gegen press.
Okay, sorry.
G-Gen press. Wait, Sean. Come on. But yeah, no. I think we'll struggle a lot with them in transition as well. Like they've got quite a few quick players as well, like Redmond. Who else? Ings has been banging goals this season as well. So I mean, he's nailed on to score. Like,
either one.
Put your house on it. You know,
against
it's gonna happen.
He's gonna eat one of them. Like, you know what I mean? Easily. So. Yeah, I don't see. Apparently, Xhaka's going to come back in, and apparently.
Oh, Xhaka's back, yeah.
Yeah, apparently he's back, and you know that's the mad thing. As bad as Xhaka is, I don't know how many games we've won without him this season, and that says a lot in itself as well. Do you know what I mean? Considering all his flaws as well. Maybe Özil comes back in as well. I don't know.
Danny Ings is 2.2 to score any time tomorrow.
I will score. He'll
100%. He's gonna play off holding. He's gonna pam.
Yeah, he's gonna pay off. He's gonna play on the shoulder.
I've already seen the goal. Like, I've already seen it. So.
Yeah. So so I would like to see. I don't know. Maybe.
So Tierney in. We're agreeing on Tierney in. Martinez in, obviously.
Tierney in. Yeah, I think maybe Ainsley should come in.
I think Ainsley should come in. I think. Do I remember correctly? Ainsley had a good game against Southampton one year, was it? Or was that one of his games where he had an absolute shocker?
No, it was
something sticks out.
It was that couple of years back, you know, that FA Cup game.
Right, and he played centre mid.
He played centre mid with Jeff and Iwobi, and we won.
That's it. Okay, yeah.
Was playing there as well, midfield. I thought.
Yeah.
We had quite a few guys that day, but yeah. So yeah, I would bring him in instead of Bellerin. I would also. I don't know what I would do, man. I would keep Saka.
Stick one. So Xhaka, Saka. I think that was going to work well. Xhaka and Saka is going to work well, I think.
Yeah, I'm keeping Saka centre mid, but obviously
right side of centre mid. Guendouzi, I don't know.
Yeah, I think because the thing is, probably Guendouzi, I'd say.
And then Pepe, we stick with Pepe on the right.
Yeah. Who? And then obviously
And then Oba and
Eddie, bro. I told you, I'm not picking Laka, bro. I'm not picking him.
I'm picking Laka.
Are you? I'm not picking Laka ahead of Eddie, man.
I think the technical security, if they're going to press us, maybe Laka gives us a bit more.
He's functional. He will be able to hold on to the ball. He will be.
But do you know what annoys me though is that like Eddie's a 20-year-old. He's more aggressive in the box than Laka. He attacks the balls a lot better than Laka does. Do you know what I mean? So
he does the striker's job absolutely. Yeah. But it's outside of that, and I am not sure how much we'll even get it into the box. I mean, what I want to see is more in terms of like the encouraging performance, because I think for 60 minutes against Brighton, we were not bad. We were not bad, you know. And again, just to hail up Saka, I think he had a very good game.
Speaking of Saka, have you just seen Arteta's just said, I don't know who to, but he just said, I'm very confident that everything with Bukayo will be sorted very shortly.
Yeah, so and we need to.
That's annoying. I would have released that as a soundbite from Sami tomorrow.
No, we need to. But I mean, just speaking of it, he popped up everywhere. He played centrally. He played very well. Was overlapping on the left. He ended up, he got closer to Pepe for the assist for Pepe as well. Also, he had that run through the middle of the park where if he just released it a
To
millisecond
Oba,
earlier for Oba,
Oh, that's
that's
onside,
like offside
though,
as
man.
well.
That's onside,
I mean,
man.
it was offside, and fair enough. I was watching Tottenham last night, and I saw that Son decision, and I said, fine, fair enough. Like I'm looking about consistency of decision making across the board.
Yeah,
But
it's offside, but
it's not. Yeah, come on, it's that stupid VAR thing.
It's a toenail.
It's a killer. It's a killer. But
Killing
you
the
see what I'm
game,
saying?
man.
It was encouraging. So in terms of that people will rubbish Arsenal's performance because of the result, the end result. But the performance was encouraging, and it's something that we haven't. I'm not saying that we played good.
We sound like losers.
No.
Yeah, we do. We do. But
we do. I'm not saying that we played good.
But the bar is in hell.
Yeah, we are losers.
Yeah, and this is what it is as well. I think
so mid.
Between now and the end of the season, this is the type of thing. Like, we are clutching at straws, but what we have to look. Listen, Arsenal fans, forget this season. Write this season off. Just write the season off. Write the league off. The FA Cup, maybe you could try a thing, but
don't do that. Don't do that. Write the whole thing off.
Write everything off, but work towards next season. And I think this is what it is. Arteta is really getting to find out his players, and he's really getting to find out who am I going to be able to rely on next season. Who am I going to be able to put in there and trust? Who is going to be able to do a job for me? Who's going to turn up and put in professional performances and whatnot. And I think, fine, he needs to be given this opportunity to figure this out, because he is literally separating the wheat from the chaff. So, yeah, man, I'm not expecting the world tomorrow. We will lose. We'll get a draw at best. But, yeah, man, we move from there. We take signs of encouragement and we move.
Yeah. All right. Let me quickly go through some listeners' questions before we wrap things up then. So I've got a couple from the Discord. Guys, if you haven't joined the Discord, please do. We will be doing a live match show tomorrow, so you can tune in, and I'm hoping to see Dan and Seun there, if I'm being honest, because me and Shabs have been repping.
Listen,
I need to share the pain. Yeah.
Let me find out if I can.
Listen. There's a lot of these nasty mugger guys in there.
Nasty.
And there's even some nastier Chelsea hour guys as
well.
Man. So it's just.
But it's good fun. It's good fun. So join the Discord. We'll be live. I don't know what time we're starting the game.
5:30, I think.
Is it 5:30 kickoff tomorrow?
It might be. Is it 5:30 start 6 p.m. kickoff?
So yeah, we'll be live from about 5:30 for tomorrow. So you can tune in on our Discord. There's a question here from Wavy on the Discord. He said, more of a question for Lou and the rest of you guys. With David Luiz signing the extension, married signing despite injury, what are everyone's preferred scenarios at centre-back heading into the new season? So it's interesting that this question is that Sami brought up Upamecano, which obviously is a name that's kind of gone dead a bit, and we just kind of assumed, well, there was a lot of speculation linking him with Bayern, that deal was, apparently going through or whatever. I don't know what's happened there.
It's not because Bayern have just signed Tanguy Kouassi from PSG.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I think we could have been in free transfer. We could have got him. Wouldn't have cost any money, and he's a good talent.
He wouldn't have picked us over Bayern, by the way.
Yeah.
We would have had to have done that business early, to be fair. But you're right though. Missed opportunity, big miss.
There's a point about Bayern and Upamecano still there for me, because I know that Bayern are actively looking to sell Lucas Hernandez, and they're speaking to PSG.
Oh, yeah, they're going to sell him to PSG, right? Is this Hernandez guy that good to be nicking 70 million pound moves to fucking?
He's pretty decent, but I don't think
if he's that good, why is he not starting ahead of Alaba, who they're playing centre back?
Yeah,
because Alaba is better. He's better. He's just simply better.
Alaba's just a ridiculous player who's just amazing in every position that he plays, and he's just unreal. But yeah, just going back to the question, guys. Sami did obviously mention that Upamecano is still a target. Financially, it doesn't look possible at all, unless we got he did keep saying caveats if we sell, right? If we sell, he's talking about that. But yeah, go on, Dan.
We say that it's not financially possible. There's a few things we've got to consider with Upamecano. His contract is up next summer.
Yeah.
So whatever fee we were looking to pay last year, this is not the fee.
Similar situation as Oba, right? I guess. The only factor is the age, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, and then COVID obviously as well. And German teams are they don't usually let players run down their contract. So I expect him to leave. I expect him to go somewhere, especially a
So,
price
so,
like him.
so how much do you reckon he'll go? Because obviously they said his release clause dropped to 60 million this year, but obviously that was before COVID. So
I think I thought his release was going to be 40 this summer. I thought
no,
his release
it was.
currently is.
I think it was 80
started
last
off
year.
at 80.
It was 80 last year, and they're 60 this year.
Value just plummeting.
But yeah, but obviously because of COVID now, and as Dan said, in an ideal world, cool, I would sign him and Saliba. That would be great. Everyone would be happy. But realistically, I don't see how we are going to sign another centre back unless there's various departures. So with me, I would hope to be going into next season with Mari and Saliba. That would be my preferred partnership. It's not great, but obviously it's the best of a bad bunch. So
and even then, that's quite unfair on Saliba. Like
it is unfair, but
I mean, it's not unfair for a player to play, but I mean, the expectation adapting to a new league, 19 years old, barely any first team experience, barely any. You know, he hasn't even played 50 games before. I don't know.
I'd have David Luiz and Saliba. You know, we can say what we want, especially right now. You know, people are going to look at me like I'm crazy because of the mistakes that he made the other day against City, but he is the best centre back that we currently have at our club.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think as far as Saliba is concerned, he needs to play as much football as possible to next season to be able to adapt and get used to the league. Yeah, I think you will need to rest him at times on occasion to avoid burnout. But he has to play.
We spent £30 million on him.
Spent 30 million on him.
He's got to play.
We are putting a lot of hopes on him, rightly or wrongly so. He needs to adapt, and we need to do everything we can as a club to help him acclimatise. Until I see more from Mari, because I don't know if Mari's a good player or a bad player. I simply have not seen enough from him, so that's why I wouldn't. That's why I wouldn't.
Do you know what it is, Shabs? Technically, you are right. That if we're looking at technicalities, David Luiz is the best defender at Arsenal. But obviously, the thing about him is that he will have like
untrustworthy.
He also cost us the most points in our whole team.
Yeah, we just don't know when he's going to collapse and cost the team. Like because at the start of Arteta's reign, he was playing well, he was doing well. He cost us the game against Olympiacos. We went out the Europa League. He cost us against Man City. He's just always got a head loss moment in him, and I just don't know how much longer you can pursue with that. He can have say out of 5 games, he can have 3 8 out of 10 games. Then the next 2 games, he just drops 2 out of 10 games.
The stat is a red card or a penalty given away every 3 games in his Arsenal career.
But again, that is terrible from him. But again,
sorry. Let me add in an error leading to a goal as well.
But again, put that into context of how bad we are as a side. Because
we're not that bad under Arteta though. He's got
not under Arteta. But the stat was about his Arsenal career.
Yeah, no, you're right.
His Arsenal career, we have no defensive security outside of our defense. Do you know what I mean? We have no midfielders who offer us protection. You know, we're poor in transitions. We make silly mistakes higher up the field. Do you know what I mean? And he has to spend large periods of time here, just under pressure. And anyone who, teams sustain attacks against us time and again, especially later on, you're going to make mistakes, man. It's just the way that football goes. So, yeah, he is bad, but there's a reason he's worse with us than he was at Chelsea. And that's because they offer and are able to protect him. We're not, you know what I mean? So I genuinely believe he'll go to another side and will not make a side probably worse than us after his Arsenal career. He won't make the volume of individual errors that he's making whilst at Arsenal. And that's about us, not about him. Yo.
Sorry, I was eating, man.
Stick to the task.
I can agree with that. I just think the centre-back business we do will very much depend on the outgoings. We all said this, so we have so many centre-backs on the books. It would be weird to buy a centre-back when we have, 7 or 8. Mavropanos will leave. Mustafi or Socrates need to leave last year of their contract. Holding, I would flog. So that's already 4 centre-backs gone. If they all go, then we might be able to do some business. But we'll have to wait and see what really happens here. But it was interesting how he quite specifically said everyone from top to bottom is fully on this transfer. So At least they're picking out the right players. Shame we don't have the bag for it right now.
Let me just do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me just do a few more questions. Okay. Mac asks, what transfer model should Arsenal follow, and how much time should be given to implement it?
This is quite interesting because I saw some quotes from Mislintat today, and he was saying something about there's no structure, it's a mess. And I saw some interesting tweets actually, like listing the players that we signed under Mislintat, and there were some questionable signings as well. Liechtensteiner was very questionable. Obviously, there were some good ones as well with Leno, but Socrates was hella questionable. God knows how old he was, and we paid like 20 million for him. To answer the question, my strategy would be if we spend or if we're blowing the bag only on prime players, so someone like Partey, 27, 28, we can still blow the bag on him. Generally, you'd look to sign players under 25. Players that with an upside. So if you sign up for 20 mil, has the potential to be a 40, 50 million pound player. Also, I think we need to do little pickups. So something like the Mavropanos do, I actually quite am a fan of. A player that played a few times for us, we send him out on loan. He picks up interest, and we will. It looks like we're going to get double figures for him. So those are really the deals that could earn us a lot of money. So I think those are the deals we need to focus on as well. But generally, we need to have a clear, defined way of playing football. That's how most of the top teams do their recruiting, and they know exactly what they need in certain positions, and they have like the top 3 to top 5 attributes that they need from the centre midfielder, and he has to tick every single box, not 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. And when we have this guy, we do anything to get him. So this kind of seems like the Partey thing for me. So we know he ticks all the boxes. Maybe in the past, some of the signings, I think Torreira, for example, if you're looking at strategy, there were Mislintat obviously was he has this system where he looks at player similarities based on statistics, not necessarily playing style, but the statistics, and deeper statistics than just the statistics they're feeding to the regular fan. But he basically we looked for a player like Kante, and the system spit out Torreira, and we bought him based off that. So it is interesting seeing what we do going forward, and what profiles we're looking to sign, because I'm sure they're still making use of some use of the system to find similar players or similar player types. But let's see. But definitely we need to have an identification for every single position, what the top 5 skills and attributes are, and based on those we need to sign them, and they need to tick all the boxes. If they don't tick them, we shouldn't sign them.
I agree with that. I agree with that as well. But I think as well, I think what's really important for us is that the process is driven as much as possible by Arteta himself. And when I say that, I mean in terms of the identification of players, the selection of players. He has to be able to say, this is the player that I need. This is the type of player that I know, or this is the player that I need for right now, who already has demonstrated capabilities of playing the way that I need my team to play, you know? And then that go into your hierarchical structure and them doing the work, them making the magic. Because, I think Sami was touching on it, but yeah, these guys shouldn't really, like Raul shouldn't really have much say in what play, like he shouldn't. You're a businessman. Do the business, do the business. But if Arteta's saying, yeah, this is the player that I need, it needs to kind of be that. And I do think, that the age profile is important, but I think you need the right age profile across the side. So, for example, we have so many aged centre-backs. So we need a younger centre-back. We need a relatively, there's nothing wrong with a Saliba deal, but I'd want like a 25-year-old, 26-year-old who preferably has some experience, who has the attributes that we need, but has some experience of playing in the Prem. And if not in the Prem, then at a good comparable league. And I think that's important to consider as well, not just because Upamecano does work well, but then we've got two 21-year-old centre, two 21-year-old, 22-year-old centre-backs, 22-year-old and then Saliba. And then the experience kind of, as far as their age, that kind of comes out of it. And then with that, that's a different kind of process, isn't it? You know, they've got the physicality and the attributes, but, you know, they're young, they're inexperienced as a collective, and they're probably going to make a lot of different types of mistakes as well. So you have to be quite careful.
Chaps, just to butt in what you said about Arteta being part of the process, I'm sure that process is going to be something that will be worked on with Arteta's input, but I think that will mainly be driven by Edu, and he will take in Arteta's consideration on boards, and he will identify players. He probably run them past Arteta. I think generally the way it works with the way clubs do it is that the coach gives some input, but really the head of the director of football, he's responsible for the identification of the talents. Unless the coach specifically names certain players, they might pursue them. But usually the coach just gives an outline of what type of player they need, and then the director
they'll go and do yeah. I hear that.
Sean, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I'm not really in much disagreement with you. I just need everything just to be aligned and streamlined. In an ideal world for me, it would be similar to the Dortmund Leipzig model, and occasionally splashing the bag when necessary. That would be it. I don't think we need to spend like massive amounts to have good players. You just need to be identifying the right type and purchasing well. But that's always what the doubt in my mind will be about this agent-led approach. So, but we'll see.
I think I was going to say, and stopgaps as well. I think, Dan, you touched on it. We shouldn't be afraid of stopgaps. We shouldn't be afraid of picking up cheap players, free players, or loan players to know you're not who I want. You're not who we want long-term, but you're here to fill a need for this season, really. So even if you're picking up a player on a 2-year, 3-year, knowing that I'm only going to really need you for a year or two, just as backup or whatever, but the finance involved isn't going to be huge or exponential on us as a club. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think loads of clubs have done those kinds of deals, and they haven't, if nothing else, they haven't suffered for doing those kind of deals. You know, we obviously can't afford to make mistakes, so that's probably where it comes from. But if you're talking about frees and loans, relatively low risk. So I don't think fans should get on the club's back either if we're picking up these type of unknowns or whatnot. Like I said earlier, for every Van Dijk, there's a Clavan somewhere along the road. You know what I mean? So
more than one Clavan.
Yeah, more than one. Yeah.
In our case, anyway. All right, lads. I'm going to call it a day there. Just want to give another thank you to Sami and thank you to you guys as well for joining us. Hope you found it informative. We'll be providing you a lot more content like that, but you might have to pay for it. We'll see. Guys, make sure to follow us on the Discord. We are on there. We have a Touchy Gooners chat. We're obviously doing the live match show tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. Subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all of them things there, and we'll be back next week. See you later, guys.
Peace.
Nice.
When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.